Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, entitled King Chitraketu's Lamentation. Text number 5. In the previous chapters, Shukadeva Goswami narrated the story of Vritrasura, who was the leader amongst the whole race of demons, who were the arch enemies of the demigods, the rishis, and the sages. How Vritrasura literally terrorized the universe. He gave such strength and enthusiasm to the entire Asuric race that they conquered the demigods. We read about all the devatas because of their exceptionally high and pious karma. They're very beautiful in every way. Their bodies are primarily constituted of the sattva guna, the mode of goodness. Very pleasing. Even if they may have forms that are quite extraordinary. Ganapati has head of elephant. But yet, he's millions of times more beautiful than any human being. This is the devatas, very beautiful. Whereas the asuras, their bodies are mainly constituted of tamaguna and rajaguna. Because according to one's consciousness, one comes under a particular combination of the modes of material nature, and everything about that person is a product of the influences of those modes of nature. People who are actually trained and who have, due to their karma, certain psychic abilities, just by seeing someone, they can understand so much about that person. So the demons, very rarely are they beautiful. And Vritrasura especially, at least by our eyes. By their eyes, they're very beautiful. Vritrasura was horrible to see. He was massive. He was trampling on the demigods. He was roaring like a monster. And he was the enemy, the number one enemy of Indra. And all the sages, they were all praying for Indra's victory. Parikshit Maharaj was astounded. How is it that at the heat of the battle, at the crossroads of the most critical time of his life between survival and death, Vritrasura completely took shelter of Lord Narayan. Not only that, but he spoke divine philosophy to Indra. In fact, in the dialogue between Indra and Vritrasura, it's obvious to anyone who hears it that Indra was a neophyte compared to Vritrasura. And Indra is a very advanced devotee. But he appeared very materialistic, attached, fearful, and trying to make his own arrangements in this difficult situation. Whereas Vritrasura was totally detached. He knew completely he was not the doer. He was totally surrendered to Krishna and willing to accept whatever Krishna wanted. Maro birako bijo ichatohar nityadasa pratitua adhikar. He was living example of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying. My Lord, if you want to kill me, I'm ready. I'm your property. If you want to protect me, what do I have to fear? I am yours. I'm your servant eternally. Vritrasura, at the most critical, difficult time, exhibited the most exalted qualities of a Paramhamsa. Sometimes when things are easy, palatable, under our control, we can appear very saintly. But when we're really under the pressure and things are totally out of our control, then sometimes it's seen by ourselves and maybe by others that you really do think you're the controller. You really do have a big false ego. You really are taking shelter of materialistic illusions, fallible soldiers. The time of death is the ultimate crisis. That is when we're really tested. What have we learned in life? Who we really are. And you can't fool people. You can fool people even at the time of death. If you're really into it, you can just, I'm just completely taking shelter of Krishna, and like that. But it doesn't matter what people think, because at the time of death, they're gone. The only person that's there to help you in any way, shape, or form at the actual time of death is the Paramatma in your heart. And he sees how serious you really are. What is the substance of your surrender? Oh, Vritrasura, before, during, and after that crisis, he manifested the qualities of a Paramhamsa. This was astounding to Parikshit Maharaj. It may not be so astounding to all of you because you read it before, or you heard it before, or maybe we're just too dull to get it. But Parikshit Maharaj is a very learned, cultured man. This is extraordinary. How is it? Where do we find this? We find demons being liberated by Krishna. But in the process of being killed, they're purified. But demons who are preaching Bhagavad Dharma with the same accuracy and realization as great sages like Prahlad, how is this possible? And not only speaking it, living it. Shukadev Goswami explained the story, and herein Parikshit is spellbound, astonished. How is this possible? Pure devotional service is so rare. Even yogis, karma yogis, jnana yogis, astanga yogis, they practice severe austerities. scrutinizingly studying the scriptures, discriminating between matter and spirit, performing ritualistic sacrifices, giving in charity, renouncing everything of this world, sometimes for thousands and thousands of births. And such great sages and rishis, hardly a one of them ever attains pure devotional service. How is it? This demon, he didn't even do any sadhana. Bhagavatam shows. We find from his very birth, he comes out of the fire, right? And he just immediately just goes right into fighting with the demons. He wasn't going to satsangs. He wasn't going to Bhagavad-Gitas. Doesn't talk about him joining Nam Sankirtan parties. How? How could such a demon as this be more exalted spiritually than practically all of the most pious, religious, and austere sages? He achieved what is so rare. And herein, in this extraordinary state of being blasted with excitement to understand what's going on here, Parikshit Maharaj is speaking this historical verse that has been quoted millions of times by the great acharyas of the Vaishnava Sampradayas. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prasantatma koteshwapi mahamune. Everyone wants peace. But here it is explained that there's only one person who really knows what peace is. Even out of millions and trillions of persons who strive for liberation, even of millions of trillions of persons who have attained liberation, even of millions of trillions of persons who strive to attain mystic powers, cities, and in millions and trillions of persons who have attained those mystic cities, none of them are really peaceful. Only that one person who has surrendered to Lord Narayan is really peaceful. Why? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he begins his Leela where Srimad Bhagavatam culminates. When he speaks to Sanatana Goswami, first principle he establishes is the constitutional nature of the soul. Jivara Swarupoy Krishnara Nityadas. Our eternal identity is we are the servants of Krishna. Any other situation that we achieve is artificial and temporary. It's not really who we are. Devotee is peaceful because a devotee is in his or her eternal position. And why? Why is pure devotional service so rare? The word used herein is sudurlabham, exceptionally rare. Srila Rupa Goswami explains why, very comprehensively in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He describes therein there are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. The first, kleshagni, is it relieves all one's material distress. Distress is due to reactions of sinful activities. By performing certain prayaschita, or atonements, one may be able to counteract to some degree the prarabdha, or the sinful reactions that we are currently suffering. But there are aprarabdha results of papam, or sin, in subtle forms that are unmanifested, unseen. We don't even know that they're there. When you commit sinful activities, there is kutam. It aggravates our consciousness to have a greater inclination to those sinful activities. It aggravates our desire for sense gratification and our willingness to engage in sins to fulfill it. That inclination manifests as bijam, sinful desires, specific desires, and that drives us again to commit the sins. And then the whole cycle just goes on, birth after birth after birth. Arjuna asks Krishna in Gita, what is it, Krishna? Even a person knows something is wrong and he's going to suffer for it and it's sinful. Why? Why does he still do it anyway? What is that power? What is that force that impels a person to know to do something that's wrong and will force him to suffer? Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna shamadbhava. Mahashano mahapapma vijyanam iha vairanam. It is lust only, Arjuna, which is later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. This inclination and the specific desires that come from this inclination are due to the reactions of our past sinful karmas. And the horrible thing in this world is that as we're getting the reactions, we try to somehow or other alleviate that problem through the process of committing other sinful activities. If you just let the fire go out, then someday it will go out. But as the fire blazes, we feel the need to keep putting more and more and more fuel into it. And it gets hungry and hungry, higher and higher, bigger and bigger, perpetually. But pure devotional service is so powerful that not only does it mitigate the sins that we are suffering now, but it also mitigates the desire and the inclination for sinful activity within our hearts. Srila Prabhupada uses an example, just like a seed. If you fry a seed, it no longer has the capacity to sprout. Pure devotional service fries the seeds of material, sinful inclinations within our hearts. And therefore, it is the only process that really permanently relieves all distress. Now, some devotees may be thinking, I'm practicing the process of pure devotional service, but still, there's seeds. And there's inclinations, kutam, bijam, all of these things are very much alive in my heart, alive and well. And they're sprouting all over the place. And they're dictating, howling and screaming for me to engage in serving my sinful inclinations. But the process of devotional service is, in sadhana bhakti, tapasya. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam. We have to somehow or other restrain and control our senses from these previous results of our past bad karmas. And we must, as an alternative, immerse our consciousness in devotional activities. Arjuna says in Gita, Yatato hyapi kontaya purushasya vipaschita indriyani pramatini haranti prashabham mana. The senses are so strong and impetuous that they forcibly carry away even the mind of a man of a discrimination who is trying to control them. But then he gives the solution. Thani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara vasehi asyandriyani tasya pragya pratishtata. One must simultaneously restrain the mind and the senses from what is unfavorable for pure devotional service. And simultaneously one must absorb one's consciousness in Krishna. Fix one's consciousness in Krishna. That is the path. Now, in this age of Kali, there are so many very, very popular religious or spiritual movements that attract millions and tens and millions of followers, that teach, do this meditation, do this breath control, give this donations, offer these prayers. You don't have to change your life. You don't have to restrain your senses. Because after all, restraining one's senses is artificial. You feel like it, you should do it. What is this? Who's anyone to tell you not to do what you want to do? Be all that you can be. Yes? And when we hear that from authorities, it's very nice. It's a good justification. Of course, sometimes they want us to do it in a pious way. Don't hurt others, but enjoy. Yes? Unfortunately, through this process, we are, even in the name of Bhagavad-Gita, which often they quote, there's a contradiction to what Krishna is speaking in Gita. Tani saravani samyamya. We must control our senses. Vasehi asya indriyani. Indriyanam icharatam yanmano navatiyate tarasya harati pragya vayornavam ivam vashi. As a boat on the water is swept away by a strong wind, even one of the senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. When Krishna is describing the process of Astanga Yoga, he said, there's no question of yoga without control of the mind and senses. So it is difficult. But without it, there's no possibility of pure devotional service. If you want a better life, a little more pious life, a little more peace, then that stuff works. Vatraigunya vishaya vedo nistraigunya bhavarjana nirdvanvo nitya shatvasto niyogakshema atmavan. Krishna says he kicks it out. We don't want this. The Vedas talk about all this. Living a little better life, a little more pious, better enjoyment, more peace. Be established in the self, Arjuna. Ragad Vaishya Muktaishtu Vishayanandriyaishcharanatma Vishayavad Heyatma Prasadam Adhigachati. By following the regulative principles of freedom, one becomes free from attachment and aversion and achieves the goal of spiritual consciousness. So yes, the seeds of desires may still be there in our hearts. But by chanting God's names and simultaneously following these regulative principles, gradually, by the mercy of Krishna, we can overcome them. We can be free. But Krishna tells in Gita, constant practice and determination are required. Because this pure devotional service, sudurlabha, is very rarely given, there is a price to pay. It is an exceptionally small price compared to what you're getting, but there is a price. Some austerity. But Srila Prabhupada explains if we're actually practicing bhakti properly, even those austerities are fun. One's happy. Srila Prabhupada would tell people, look at these young boys and girls from America and Europe. They were doing all the wrong things, completely wild, uncontrolled minds and senses. And here they're totally controlling their minds and senses. The only sense gratification they get is some prasad. Yes? As far as sensual. Otherwise, they're restricting. But Prabhupada said, but that so many people are coming saying, what happened to this person? He looks so happy now. She looks so blissful now. Their faces are bright and light. Because they were tasting something sweeter. Vishayabani vartante niraharasya dehina rasavarajam rasopyasya param drisvani vartate. It's difficult to control the mind and senses. But if one experiences something higher, then it can be done. So what happens? Why? Sometimes devotees, they're blissful following Krishna consciousness, and then after some years, they become morose. Again, the mind and senses become wild, frustrated. Sometimes they're driven to sinful activities, materialistic activities. Sometimes devotees aren't really happy. If you're just restraining your senses, but you're not really taking shelter of the process, then it's very difficult to continue controlling your senses. And not only that, it could be quite miserable. We have to take shelter of the process. Nam Sankirtan, Vaishnav Seva, Bhagavad-Gita, worshiping the deities, going to holy places, offering prayers, doing our japa. If we're actually putting our mind and senses attentively on these processes of devotional service, we get Krishna. We start to taste Krishna. And then even the trials and tribulations of trying to be a good devotee bring inner fulfillment and joy. It's a higher taste. So if we're not happy in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, it means we're really not following the process attentively and sincerely. Because a devotee who's following properly and sincerely with the proper attitude, with a proper service attitude, not offending others. Because if you're offending others, you're not following the process. Hare Krishna. What happens is we don't follow, and then we start losing faith. What's happening? So we should know that if we do follow Krishna consciousness nicely, the process of pure devotional service, Krishna will protect us. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupashate tesha nityabhayoktanam yogakshemam bahamyam. Krishna will protect what we have. He will provide what we lack. But we have to sincerely and honestly surrender. Therefore, pure devotional service, one of its great characteristics is it relieves all material distress. So, second quality is it is shubhada. It is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Rupa Goswami tells that what is really auspicious is what is for the ultimate welfare for all living beings. That is auspicious. We talk about auspicious. We say that, the stars are auspicious today. Or a cow passes on your right side, and we say, this is inauspicious. This is auspicious. Or a black cat crosses your trail. This is inauspicious. But those activities that are actually for the welfare, that invigorate and nourish everyone, those activities are all auspicious. And that is pure devotional service. Because pure devotional service waters the seed of love of God within the hearts. Therefore, it's for the ultimate welfare of everyone. When the sages of Naimisharanya asked questions about the goal of life, why people are suffering, how to overcome these sufferings, what's happening in this coming age of Kali. Sutta Goswami was blissful. Munaya sadhu prishtoham bhavadbir lokamangalam yat karita krishna samprasno yenat masu prasidati. That your questions are glorious. They are all auspicious. Why? Because they are meant, the answers to your questions are meant for the ultimate welfare of all living beings. Why? Because it is the subject matter of Krishna, the supreme goal of everyone's life. There's a beautiful sloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yas yasti bhaktir bhagavatiya kinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate sura. Harava bhaktas yukato mahad guna manorate nasati dhavato bahi. That by practicing devotional service, all good qualities are manifested. All the qualities of the sages, the rishis, the demigods, and even the Lord are manifest through one who practices pure devotional service to the Lord. But whatever apparent good qualities are in others are temporary, because they're not founded within the soul. The good qualities that people have in the mode of goodness, those good qualities, their foundation is in the mind. And everyone knows the nature of the mind. It's like if you put if your foundation is sand, you may build a very nice structure on that sand, but it's just a matter of time till everything falls. So the good qualities of those who are materially pious, or even those who are spiritually advanced without surrendering to the lotus feet of the Lord, the foundation of their good qualities is the mental platform. Therefore, there is no permanence. A strong wind can change everything. But yes, yasti bhaktira bhagavatiya kinchana sarvai gunais tatra samasate sura. But if we surrender to Krishna, the true nature of the soul awakens within our heart. The soul is part of Krishna. The soul is Satchidananda, and it is qualitatively one with Krishna, although in small quantity. Therefore, the qualities of a really great devotee who is truly surrendered to Krishna are permanent. They're glorious. Therefore, the path of devotional service is like watering the root of a tree. You fulfill all the goals of all other spiritual paths if you just surrender to Krishna. And that is Krishna's lesson. His conclusion of Bhagavad-Gita. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religious activities. You don't have to do all these rituals. You don't have to do all these prayashchitas. You don't have to do all these meditations. You can do for your health and all these other things. But for your real salvation, all you have to do is surrender to me. I shall personally deliver you from all sinful reactions. And that is why it is so important that we hear the histories of these great devotees throughout. Because they manifest qualities that even the demigods adore, that even the great sages and rishis adore. Look at Ambarish Maharaj. The demigods were glorifying him. Durvas Muni ended up surrendering to him. All auspicious. That is the characteristic of pure devotional service. And how is it that devotees have such good qualities? Because by associating with Krishna, Krishna manifests through the devotee's heart. And Krishna is all attractive. Sandrananda Visheshatma. That through pure devotional service, one can achieve an indescribable standard of happiness, condensed, concentrated ecstasies. Because it is the nature of the soul. It is actually the nature of the soul. Param dristvani vartate. Krishna has made us as seekers of bliss. But in the foreign land of material existence, we're just looking in the wrong places. The 5th canto, there is the chapter called Forest of Material Enjoyment, which is very graphically describing what happens when an animal in this forest of material enjoyment is seeking pleasure. How many implications, how many complications, how many tragedies. It is explained that in the desert, one is so hungry for water, thirsty, that they start imagining with their minds water. It's called a mirage. And they're running toward that mirage, struggling. Every ounce of their energy, they're trying to reach it. With such great hope that they'll find relief and pleasure. But all they get is a mouthful of hot, dry sand. Hare Krishna. Even if a little bit of sand is mixed in your sweet rice, kheer, it's miserable. But put the sweet rice aside and drink a whole bowl of hot, dry sand. That is material life. It only increases. But Krishna consciousness gives us the real happiness that we're all searching for. Why? Because we're all searching for love. The love we're searching for is in Krishna. And pure devotional service is sudurlabha. It is extremely rare to achieve it. And why is that? For 2 primary reasons. One, you can't attain it. No matter what you do, you can never attain pure devotional service. You can attain elevation to heavens. You can attain massive prosperity and pleasure within this material earth planet. You can attain mukti, liberation, but you can never attain pure devotional service. It is the property of Krishna. When Krishna gives it to you by his own sweet will, only then can you experience it. And Krishna gives it through his devotees. Prahlad Maharaj, he tells his father, Matirna Krishne Paratasvatova Mitope Pedete Grihavratanam Adandago Birvashatam Tamishram Puna Punash Charavata Charavananam. My dear father, you cannot attain pure devotional service, either by your own efforts, by the help of others, or by a combination of both. It's just not possible. Therefore, you continue in this material existence just chewing that which has already been chewed in the form of material enjoyment. But if you want to attain pure devotional service, there's only one way. Naisham matishtavarurukramangring sprashatyanartha pagamo yadartha. Mahiya sampadarajo niskinchananam navriti yavat. We learn this from Govinda Prabhu. He spoke with great conviction. That unless one smears the dust of the feet of a devotee who has no interest in material enjoyment on all limbs of the body, performing an abhishek on oneself with the dust from the feet of the great souls who have taken shelter of Krishna, nobody can attain Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness only comes through causeless mercy. The mercy of Krishna and the mercy of Krishna's devotees. And why does Krishna not give it so easily? Because he is controlled by the love of his devotee. So many examples. Pandavas. When Narada Muni was speaking to Yudhisthira Maharaj, Yudhisthira Maharaj was glorifying Prahlad in the 7th canto. That after hearing the story of Prahlad Maharaj, Yudhisthira Maharaj considered, he is so great, I have nothing. My devotional service is of no value whatsoever. And Srila Prabhupada explains in this regard, this is the nature of a devotee. A devotee never thinks him or herself great. A devotee takes pleasure in seeing the greatness of others. A devotee, when he hears about the devotional service of others, thinks, this devotee is so dear to Krishna. This devotee is so advanced. This devotee is so empowered, so wonderful, and I am nothing compared. How is it? So Yudhisthira Maharaj, he's not depressed about it. He's ecstatic about it. It's not like he's envious of Prahlad, saying, Prahlad's so great and I'm nothing, but I want to become better than Prahlad. He wasn't like that. He was blissful. You can't really appreciate the qualities of another as long as you're focusing on yourself. You can't really appreciate another devotee's qualities as long as you're hung up in your own, in who you are and what you are. But and if you follow in the footsteps of Yudhisthira Maharaj, which Prabhupada says all great devotees are like, and you think I'm nothing, they're all better than me, then you could really, really appreciate and understand the great qualities of other Vaishnavas. So Yudhisthira Maharaj is saying like this. He's not depressed, but he's just very humble. That I'm nothing. Look at Prahlad. He's so surrendered, so wonderful. I'm nothing.